federal government to engage illegal refiners to end oil bunkering and environmental degradation in the Nigerian.
Speaker Dogara inaugurates committee to find way out of economic recession.
And court orders interim forfeiture of money recovered from a house of a former GMD in the NNPC.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we will take a look at funding the Nigerian police.
All right, I don't know which part of the world where you are watching this program from, but here is the big question. Now, do the police within your area quickly get to you when you do need them? And what is the nature of the police where you are?
Well, Claire, maybe we should narrow things down to Nigeria. And the question to pose also is whether there's visible police presence in the part of the country where you are watching us right now, or indeed where you live or where you work. And are men and officers of the police also readily available when you don't need them, as Claire earlier asked?
And of course, another question will be, how effective would you say, of course, in evaluating the policemen, are they carrying out their responsibilities? Now, do you also consider them properly equipped to do their job? Do they inspire confidence in you when they come, of course, on the scene when there is a problem or challenge?
Well, if the answer to most or all of the questions we just asked in the meantime is the negative, now, why is this so? If one may also ask. Now, what could be responsible for the current situation? Is this the way it ought to be? And is that the case in other countries that are more endowed or even less endowed than Nigeria?
All right, Kingsley. Now, these questions, of course, assume a more significant dimension when we consider that, of course, the constitution of the country makes it mandatory for the police to protect lives and property of citizens. Of course, it is one of their key responsibilities of government.
All right, we may also wish to backtrack a bit to about 60 years or more ago, that's to say the period immediately before independence and then subsequent to independence in the 1950s and the 1960s. Of course, we had different police. We had the Native Authority Police as well as the Central Police before they were all harmonized onto one police force. Now, for those who have memories of what went on in the past when the country was less sophisticated than it is today in terms of the nature and intensity and frequency of various criminal activities that we now find, was the police at the time more efficient than we are seeing today? And now that we are seeing higher levels of sophistication in crime in general, can we say that things can be turned around for the Nigeria Police Force? And if so, how?
Well, Kingsley, the questions that arise are probably interminable. So, of course, we will just have to stop at this point, and we can go on with the program. Of course, you can rest assured that we will, as usual, seek answers to them when we take on our, of course, a guest that will be here this morning. I am Claire Delabo Abdulrazak. I'd like to thank you once again for finding time to join us on today's edition. It's reaching you from Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, Africa's largest TV network.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Claire and also welcome you to this program, in the course of which we shall have our regular complementary segments. This, of course, include newspaper review, business, sports, foreign, and entertainment. Of course, there was a lot of action in the sporting world yesterday with Barcelona beating Black and Blue in Paris. In the meantime, we're going over to the newsroom and we are joining Joseph Johnson for the news. Hi, Joseph.
Hello, Kingsley. Thanks for joining us on the news desk at this time. Acting President Yemi Osinbajo says the federal government will engage all those involved in illegal refining as a strategy to ending oil bunkering and environmental degradation in the Niger Delta region. Professor Osinbajo said these at a meeting with APC stakeholders in Rivers State as part of his engagement towards solving the agitations in the region.
Those young men and women who are involved in illegal refining. Our approach to that is that we must engage them by establishing modular refineries so that they can participate in legal refining. We have made more provision for amnesty than has ever been made. And we have made more provision for social intervention. This state, Rivers State, has the second largest number of young graduates who have been employed by the federal government under our Empower scheme.
To the legislature, where the National Assembly is making efforts towards attacking headlong the economic recession, bedeviling the government's drive for the development of Nigeria. A tactical committee to fashion out the strategy for economic resuscitation has been inaugurated by the Speaker, House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara.
Always the solution was homegrown. And in Nigeria, the challenge has not been lack of planning, but the discipline to stick to our plans and ensure that they are implemented so that our people can reap the fruits of those plans. The problems are well known. At this point in time, it is the solution that matters.
Now, the major focus of the 2017 budget proposal by the Federal Ministry of Culture is promotion of Nigeria's tourism potentials in the country's economic diversification drive. This is the declaration by the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, while defending the ministry's 2017 budget estimates before the Senate Committee on Culture and Tourism.
Tourism and culture sector of the ministry secured the assistance of the United Nations World Tourism Organization for the review of the Tourism Master Plan.
I ask you to furnish this committee with more information that will put us in a very, good stead, to be able to understand all your expenditures.
In the meantime, the health sector has featured prominently at Day 2 of the Joint National Assembly budget debate, with members of the civil societies giving their input regarding the value of healthcare delivery to national development.
The federal government of Nigeria should put in place the policy and legal framework for sustainable immunization financing and develop a transition plan to address the accelerated loss of Gavi support in the next 5 years.
We have increased the benchmark of the crude oil from the $42.5 that was presented as contained in the budget, Mr. President. The National Assembly has passed an MTF, and the MTF will raise the price, the benchmark to $44.5, so which means there are going to be additional $2.
When we move out to the 2016 budget, there were a lot of controversy in the budget. So we feel that to address this controversy is to allow people to come and make recommendations.
2017 budget not only is good, but is even better than the 2016.
Let's turn to the judiciary now, because a federal high court sitting in Kano, presided over by Justice Zainab Abubakar, has ordered the forfeiture of the sum of $9.8 million recovered from the former group managing director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, Mr. Andrew Yakubu, to the federal government. In her ruling, Justice Zainab held that the amount now in the custody of the applicant, EFCC, is in the interim forfeited to the federal government. It would be recalled that on the 3rd of February, operatives of the commission stormed a building belonging to the former NNPC boss and recovered the amount stashed in a fireproof safe. A statement from EFCC says Yakubu is still in custody of EFCC, assisting the investigation. Hundreds of people, mostly youths, took to the streets in Abuja in a mega rally to express their support for the Buhari administration. Abdullahi Brennan Kudu reports that Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Babachir David Lawal, addressed the crowd.
we are seeing the revolutions in agriculture. In infrastructure, we are also seeing the achievements in infrastructure. The second Niger Bridge, by the grace of God today, is being implemented and awarded by President Muhammadu Buhari.
We understand that some people are being used just to cause chaos, and we are not agents of destruction. Rather, we are positive about Nigerians.
Of the economy that the president inherited, the economy in which revenue had virtually collapsed, the infrastructure is nowhere to be seen, and the people who caused this are not worried at all. Shamelessly, they accuse the president of not performing. In fact, some of them wish him dead. But I can assure you that by the grace of God, he will outlive all of them.
We welcome your demonstration of support because this is what will keep the government strong. This is what will keep the anti-corruption war going. The war against corruption has enemies, very powerful enemies. Enemies who have resources, the kind of money that even the government doesn't have.
In another front, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Babachar David Lawal, has appealed to medical doctors in government employment to desist from using strike actions to seek improved working conditions. The SGF stated this when he received in audience the executive of the National Association of Resident Doctors of Nigeria. He warned that they may lose public sympathy in the process, as many avoidable deaths are recorded during strikes. The SGF, however, assured the doctors that the federal government, within limited resources, is desirous of improving the working environment in government medical facilities. The president of National Association of Resident Doctors of Nigeria, Dr. John Onyebweze, had appealed to the federal government for improved salary and to see the plight of medical doctors nationwide. The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, is focusing efforts on corruption prevention through systems reforms and reduction of opportunities for corruption to thrive in the country. This was at a media parley, which also served as a platform to appraise its activities in the year 2016 and make projections for 2017.
The full weight of the law must be brought against corrupt persons. It is crucial that, in addition, anti-corruption efforts must be focused on prevention through systems reform and reduction of opportunity for corruption.
The media is apparently an agent of social justice, a role that should not be compromised no matter the attraction.
Finally, the Director General, Nigerian Television Authority, Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, has announced plans to recategorize NTA stations based on prescribed number of transmission hours. He stated this in Mina while on an unscheduled visit to NTA Mina.
And doggedness, on the part of every staffer of NTA. And I can assure you that I have every confidence that in NTA we have the people who are capable of taking NTA to the next level.
And that's the news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Claire and Kinsley after this break. Bye-bye.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
What makes a Niger mom powerful?
I encourage my kids to learn new things. And if they get hurt, I rely on the power of my Dettol's One Capful. To fight germs, it's like my own first aid kit.
My family needs protection from germs. I use the power of Dettol's One Capful to disinfect surfaces and clothes to keep them clean and safe from germs.
I trust the power of Dettol's One Capful for bathing. The power of Dettol's One Capful protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Millions of powerful Niger moms use the power of Dettol's One Capful to protect their families. Be a powerful Niger mom with Dettol. Be 100% sure.
NTA Properties Investment Company Limited, a subsidiary of the Nigerian Television Authority, specializes in creating comfort in all areas of life, such as real estate investments, that is, land, houses, and office spaces, mass leasing, savings and loan scheme, household items and car loans, and so much more. Other information and entertainment services include Property in Style, a TV program that airs on the network service of the NTA, and also Property Connect, a nationwide magazine. Our priority is to bridge poverty gaps and sustain quality welfare of our clients. Partner with us and watch us help you grow. Pay us a visit today at the NTA headquarters permanent site, Area 11 Garki, Abuja, or our Lagos office at number 15 Awolowo Road, Ikoyi, Lagos. For more information, visit our website on www.ntaproperties.com.ng, or you can email us on ntapic2000@yahoo.com. Call us on 080-2316-3474 or 080-6939-5185 or 070-3189-0555. NTA Properties Investment Company Limited, the much needed help at your doorstep.
All right, we're moving down to business now, and Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, restates government's intolerance for corruption and financial impropriety. This was at a retreat to appraise the gains of the Treasury Single Account, TSA. We have details of these and other stories with Kulu Mohammed.
The journey of the Treasury Single Account began in 2012, but gained momentum last year via a presidential directive to ensure its full enforcement. 1 year down the line, players in this epic decision pause to assess the journey so far and chart a course for the future.
Before TSA implementation, it was difficult for relevant institutions to determine the federal government cash position in a timely manner. Now, the position is clear.
It's given us greater visibility of the revenues of many of our agencies. And that visibility has allowed us to exercise better and stronger control.
Public finance management in the past year has gone a notch higher. The Treasury Single Account has put restrictions on multiple banking arrangements with the consolidation of more than 20,000 accounts initially spread across deposit money banks.
Considerable gains have been made in TSA implementation. There is still a need to evaluate the program and identify most feasible ways to take it to the desired level.
The MDs are in TSA as we are speaking, apart from statutory agencies. And by statutory agencies, I mean National Assembly, the NJC, and similar agencies that are considered statutory.
Prior to the entry of the Treasury Single Account, government borrowing amounted to an average of 4.7 billion naira monthly. The retreat aims to avail participants opportunity to brainstorm, dialogue, and engage fully in the economic reform program. Meanwhile, during the Senate's public hearing on 2017 appropriation, former Deputy Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Dr. Obadiah Melafia, says about 20% of the nation's currency in circulation are fake. He said government was not aware of the massive fake currency in circulation in the country, which he said was highly detrimental to the growth of the economy. When fake currencies of that magnitude circulate, according to him, original currencies become scarce. And on drawing the line between recession and depression, he described recession as a situation where the gross domestic product GDP output of a country records negative growth in more than 2 quarters, while depression relates to a situation where GDP growth falls 5 to 7 years. Melafia linked the country's economic problems to many factors, such as global fall in the prices of crude oil, dwindling foreign reserve, weakened naira, negative growth, and existing gap in public policies. He enumerated other areas to include poor banking practices, stock exchange crisis, speculations, regulatory failure, corruption and fraud, as well as weak macroeconomic management. The former CBN deputy governor warned the federal government and financial regulators against toying with high interest rates, pointing out that it will only aggravate the nation's economic problems. And for the latest closing figures on the floor of the Nigeria Stock Exchange, here is a graphic summary. That's business news for this hour. I'm Kolo Muhammad.
Thank you very much there, Kolo Muhammad, for the business news. Next for us is a look at the headlines in some of today's newspapers.
Thank you for joining us, and of course, to welcome again Bayo Atoyibe, who is in the house. Bayo, good to see you.
Good to see you. Yeah, thank you. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Nigeria. Morning and welcome to this edition. Now, let's begin with the Daily Trust. The Daily Trust from immediately below the nameplate says, SGF, that is Secretary of Government of the Federation, Buhari will spend 8 years. The details of that story can be found on page 41. Ex-NNPC boss Yakubu forfeits 3 billion naira to federal government. Story in detail on page 4. Now the lead says, Fashola disowns 2 billion naira in ministry's budget. Fashola disowns 2 billion naira in ministry's budget. And to the left side, just beside the photograph on the front page, says Presidency and Senate to clash over Magu again as acting chair of the EFCC. And federal government says TSA accruals hit 5.2 trillion. That's 5.2 trillion naira. Details of that story on page 13. Now, the photograph has a caption that says a Nigerian deported from Libya on arrival at the Murtala Muhammed Airport in Lagos yesterday. The story about the arrival is in greater detail on page 4. Kaduna Airport ready for Abuja's closure. That's according to FAN. And Army to recruit 12,000. In 2017. Again, that story is attributed to Burete, who is the Chief of Army Staff. Fake currency in circulation, less than 1%. That's attributed to the CBN. Obviously, it is a rebuttal of a story published earlier in the week that indicated that he had about 20-25% of fake currencies in circulation. Yes. So fake currency in circulation, less than 1%, and that's according to the CBN. Claire.
Indeed, Kingsley, that story is also part of what I have on the front page of the New Telegraph. You can see it, part of the trending stories just below the nameplate there. Let me start from that. CBN counterfeit Naira notes in circulation below 1%. The details of that, it's on page 30, and that's coming from Emefiele. Now, you also find Wike's Valentine gift to Rivers. You want to find what it is on page 33. And nothing to show that Southeast is part of Nigeria. And this is attributed to Okorocha, that's the Imo State Governor. It's on page 2. And court orders forfeiture of ex-NNPC GMDs $9.8 million to federal government. Now, the lead story today is we were tortured, starved, robbed. And this is the testimony of 161 Nigerian returnees as they recount ordeal in Libya. Now, IOM, NEMA, and offer $50 to each deportee, and £50 to each deportee, and 350 trapped. FUTA, that's Federal University of Technology, Akure VC, Bursa arraigned for 157 million naira fraud. Details of that on page 9. And the trending story at the bottom, 2019, Atiku reps up political consultation. Malls returned to PDP, and ex-Vice President visits IBB. It's a story trending at the bottom there. It says, too much food quickens aging process. And you can find the details of that on page 10. Again, let me quickly take you above the nameplate. And Senate queries Fashola over 2 billion naira padded housing budget. And minister disowns strange vote. Lawmakers summon finance minister. Bayo.
Yes. Let's start with the story we reviewed yesterday, that there was a speculation that fake currency in circulation were up to 20%. The Director of Corporate Communication of the Central Bank, Isaac Okorafo, says that that assertion is not only spurious, but grossly uninformed. He said that from the surveillance of the Central Bank between the period of January to December 2016, they showed that the level of fake currency, counterfeit currency in circulation was about 0.0014%, far less than 1%. And he said that while no currency in the world is totally immune from counterfeiting, the CBN has strict surveillance on the Nigerian currency. And so that is very, very reassuring. Also, a Federal High Court in Kano, presided over by Justice Zainab Abubakar, on Tuesday ordered a temporary forfeiture of the cash recovered from Sabonteja residents of the former GMD of the NNPC. This is sequel to an ex-parte application brought by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission as regards those money. Now, the story clear read, there is a forecast that is due that the marginal growth of Nigeria is attributable to agriculture and mineral sector is likely to pull Nigeria out of the recession. This is a publication in a magazine, Government at Work, that the leadership says is published by the Aso Villa newsletter. And that indication says that agriculture has grown by 4.54%, while solid mineral has averaged about 7%. It also indicated that about 800 billion capital releases has enabled resumption of work on several projects. Also, they indicated that the oversubscription of the recent Eurobond 8 times over to the tune of 7.8 billion shows increased confidence in the economy of Nigeria and a strong indication about market appetite for Nigeria by the international investing community. The other story, however, relates to the Southeast. Imo State Governor has asked the acting president that the Buhari administration needs to take a second look at the Southeast. During Professor Shibajo's State of Strategic Consultation visit, Governor Rochas Anayo Okorocha declared, "We have nothing to show that we are part of Nigeria project. Neither do we have a sense of belonging in the present government at the national level. We have been marginalized in terms of projects and appointments. Imo played a major part in APC's ascendance to power, but today we have not benefited from that amnesty program in spite of being an oil-bearing state." The acting president said it is not exactly correct that Imo State is the only state that had one minister of state. He said the Kaduna State, where the president resides, and Katsina State, his home state, also had one minister of state each. And he said Governor Rochas Okorocha, he agrees with him that Governor Rochas Okorocha, though he has the ear of the president among all the governors, he should not assume that Imo State has been deliberately isolated. He, however, agreed that, yes, as an oil-bearing state, Imo State has not been treated fairly. The acting president said during a consultation visit, states of the Niger Delta, he discovered 40 abandoned projects, and he declared that the contractors who are responsible should either quickly go back to site to work or they risk the forfeiture of those projects. That looks like what they call in this part of the country Inua Giginya policy. Inua Giginya takes from the image of, a baobab tree is very huge. It casts its shadow there, and if you are close to it, you don't enjoy it, but those far away seem to benefit. And that is why Governor of Imo State, in spite of being very close, and Katsina and Kano, and Kaduna got only one Minister of State, Inuagiginya policy.
All right, Blueprint is next for us for the headlines on this front page. Looters wishing Buhari dead. This according to Babache, that's the SGF. Details of that story on page 6. And SGF again to doctors. Don't seek better working conditions via strikes. That's on page 14. And Lassa fever kills 8 in Nasarawa. And Buhari is homesick. Again, that's attributed to the presidency. Details on page 5. And man kills twin daughters he labeled witches. That story is on page 7. Igbo presidency, Nigerians will decide. Atiku tells OBJ. That's on page 6. Lead story says 2 billion naira padded into housing budget. And that's according to the Senate. Summons finance minister, I am not aware. That says according to Fashola. Now, the photograph on the front page of the Blueprint has the caption, members of the Coalition for Good Governance and Change Initiative during a mega rally in support of President Muhammadu Buhari's government in Abuja yesterday. Now, lastly, at the foot of the front page, Kogi Central under siege. EPA demands security agents redeployment. EPA stands for Ebira People's Association. And details of that story on page 9.
All right, Kingsley. But Bayo, just before I take my next leadership, the issue about fake, currency circulation, we really do not have to wait until it is 1% or more than 1% before we begin to take action. A lot of people have, had experiences of humiliation, embarrassment as a result of fake currency. Some even from ATMs. So I think it's something that we really need to sit up and do something about.
Yes, and that is what the person in charge of public communication said. He said, no currency in the world is immune from counterfeiting, but it's the level at which it is reduced. And he said the percentage for Nigeria is 0.14%, and that is critically low. And in spite of that, they said the surveillance to eliminate it is still on. This is to ensure that your currency has value and you are not fooled by getting fake currency when you engage in transactions.
Exactly. Let me quickly look at the leadership and authority. We really don't have much time today. Leadership says inflows into TSA rise to 5.2 trillion naira. Details of that on page 5. Now, 20,000 accounts belonging to MDAs closed. Accountant General. And DMO to float bond for small savers. That's the lead story. And Nigeria already getting out of recession. That's coming from the presidency. It's just a little below the nameplate. Nigeria already getting out of recession, presidency. And, of course, that story about Atiku visiting IBB again, canvasses countries restructuring. It's also trending right there. Now, trending stories at the bottom. Nigeria loses 100 billion naira to fake products annually. And this is from Sun. And declare office of FCT PAMSEC illegal. Plaintiff tells court. And finally, the authority says pro-FG's rally, Buhari will roll till 2023. And that's coming from the SGF. Corrupt citizens richer than Nigeria, says Shehu. It's too early to give up on the president. That's coming from the organizer. So again, I'll take you just a little below, above the nameplate. Southeast APC plans reception for Ifeanyi Ubah, others. How Finance Ministry inflated works housing budget by 2 billion naira. Yep, this is attributed to Fashola. I don't know about that. The story, you can find out details of that on page 4. Now, Niger Delta stakeholders meeting. Wike berates Rivers APC for misinforming Oshibaju. All right, and after MMM, Nigerians shipped to local easy money-making schemes. You want to find out that? It's on page 2.
Okay, your fingers burnt.
Well, some papers are tagging that 2 billion naira has been padded into the budget of the Ministry of Power and Housing. That is not true. What happened was that there was a 2 billion naira inclusion in the budget of the ministry, for which the Honorable Minister for Power and Housing says that it was not a submission by his ministry. However, it was identified that it was a provision by the Ministry of Finance for regional housing schemes. And when budgets are prepared Every ministry has their proposals. At the end of the day, it gets to the Ministry of Finance that also has the tendency to look at other aspects of program of government and other initiatives and to make inclusions. I think there's been a communication gap, but immediately the Minister of Finance has been invited to come before the Senate Committee to provide explanations for it. 161 Nigerians are very happy to be brought home. They had been sojourning in Libya. They were actually in detention, and like you read, Claire, they said they have been robbed, tortured, and starved, and they were very happy to come home. They comprised 60 males and 110 females. There were 9 infants and 9 children among them too. They have advised our fellow Nigerians not to ever make a mistake of going to that part of the world. It says our people are dying seriously in Libya.
All right, Bayo Atoyebi, well, thanks a lot for that advisory. We discussed irregular migration last week on Good Morning Nigeria, and it's still the word of caution for those who believe that there are greener pastures, beyond our shores, that the risk is not worth it. So, Bayo, thank you for being with us today. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll be dealing with how to better fund and equip the Nigeria police.
Hear the call of change. Stand up, Nigeria. Change is here and it's going to stay. Change begins with you. Oh yeah, make we go. Dirty soul, so let the change begin from within. Look at you, oh get roller. Change begins with you and me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me.
Hey, Ochrami, come on.
Mon chéri.
Kí ló dé báyìí?
Make the whole Africa begin to dey talk. You no go fit get this one o. Make you still dey look for another. Talkstuff.com na app wey be say e don arrange everything wey concern social media for you for inside one app. Check am now. Make you kiakia go sign up sharparly on top talkstuff.com. Talk dey cheap. Make your own be good.
All right, time to kickstart our conversation this morning. If you've just joined us, you're right on time, and this is Good Morning Nigeria. Now, having an effective and efficient police for the country is something that has refused to disappear from public discourse, at least for a long time now. Now, to proceed our discussion on today's program, Ngozi Chude put together this background report. Let's listen in.
Central to managing and responding to challenges of security in Nigeria is the Nigerian police force. Significantly over the years, their effectiveness and maximal functionality in fighting and combating crime has been in question, putting into consideration that the staff strength of about 301,000 in 36 commands, 12 zones and 7 administrative organs pales in comparison to the over 170 million Nigerians under their protection, thus laying credence to the fact that manpower is a huge challenge to the principal law enforcement agency faces. Apart from this, analysts also identify training and funding as a major hiccup in the agency's performance. This has further been demonstrated over the years with the daredevil operations of armed robbers, even with the presence of police officers meters away who are no match to them and the sophistication of weapons. But most critical is the issue of funding. In 2016, the House of Representatives Standing Committee expressed deep concern over the 16.1 billion naira allocated to the force and the budget, given the rising cases of violent crimes in the country. Describing the allocation as grossly inadequate, the committee chaired by Honorable Ali Rudauda Jika noted that if something urgent was not done to address the matter, the security of the entire country would be in jeopardy with the increasing wave of terrorism, armed robbery, Niger Delta militants, and insurgency in the northeast. Though past governments have raised the same concern on this, it has remained unaddressed. An investigation in 2008 revealed that the total number of arms used by the Nigerian police was just over 90,000, with 92 million rounds of ammunition. It further revealed that only 5,900 serviceable vehicles, as against the over 30,100 recommended vehicular needs of the police, was made available. By 2011, the 4 helicopters in their fleet in 2007 was reduced to 2. As of today, the force has a fleet of 14,306 vehicles, including 3,115 motorcycles nationwide. This shortfall in funding, security watchers believe, has drastically affected the performance and effectiveness of the force. However, believing in a new police, the present administration, after assuming office, says it remains committed to addressing challenges of inadequate funding, training, and other areas facing the Nigerian police force, with a view to making it rise to its position as the lead security agency. In ensuring this, by December 2016, the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, approved the commencement for the training of various cadres of applicants who were adjudged successful at the recently concluded 2016 recruitment exercise into the Nigerian police force at designated schools nationwide. A good step in the right direction, many pointed out, but with a gap in funding, how effective and balanced will these officers be, considering the huge challenges in the force? But most importantly, how will the issue of inadequate funding be addressed for effective policing? These are the issues panelists will discuss on Good Morning Nigeria today.
All right, thank you very much there, Ngozi Chude, for that background report. Now we have joining us on the guest for the conversation, a retired Deputy Inspector General of Police, who was in charge of finance and administration while in service, Mr. Azubuko Uda. Retired DIG, it's a pleasure to have you join us on the program this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. And then also with us here in the Abuja studios is also retired Commissioner of Police. At some point, he was in charge of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Lawrence Alobi. It's a pleasure to having me too. Have you with us on the program.
All right, gentlemen, we also have another guest here with us today's program. He's right here in the studio. He's a public analyst, Bala Ibrahim. Bala, would like to thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And also from our Lagos Network Center studio, another retired Deputy Inspector General of Police and member of Lagos State Security Trust Fund, Mr. Israel Ajao. Mr. Ajao, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right. Well, let's begin a conversation by posing what should not be a fairly familiar question, the response to which is also probably likely to be familiar. But what is your assessment, gentlemen, of the current operational efficiency of the Nigeria Police? Let's begin with retired DIG Uda.
Well, my impression actually is that the police doesn't have what it takes to be operationally and professionally proficient in the performance of their duties. We have been having, we know that the police have been having serious problems in terms of finance, in terms of having the wherewithal to get the job done. And that is the major problem. We have had interventions in the past, but I think the time has come for something to be done drastically. If not, the Nigeria Police will continue to deteriorate and will not be able to carry out its constitutional functions. The functions of the police are properly given, and if they don't have the wherewithal, the police have a lot of things to do there. You have the various departments, you have the operations, you have the marine, you have the air wing, You have all the investigation and intelligence side, and without funding, without logistics, the way we are seeing it, we are not going anywhere. So that is my take on that. I will have to give more details or more specifics about, since I retired as a DIG Finance and Admin, and there is a lot of things that are happening that, in fact, is a miracle the way the police is surviving. Because when budget is given, the police may end up having maybe 25% of capital, capital budget. Even the personnel costs, more often than not, you don't get the whole money appropriated or released or cash backed. Not to talk about the overhead costs. This is a very serious problem that the police has been facing for a very long time. And you know, in the past we have had, it's so serious that in the past, from 2006, we have been having presidential committee on police reforms. They have been doing a lot of, giving a lot of recommendations on how to get the police going. And more often than not, we see these things as stopgap measures. We have had very knowledgeable and experienced retired police officers who headed these panels. We had the MD Yusuf panel, committee. We had the Madami committee. We also had the Pariosa and the committee. They have made a lot of recommendations, and yet, one way or the other, their recommendations don't come into fruition. Because if these things are done with sincerity and honesty of purpose, the Nigerian police will be better placed to continue to carry out their functions without any let or hindrance. What we have seen is that sometimes when this kind of situation arise, people will start shouting. At the end of the day, something will be done, but it will be a stopgap measure. It is not of continuous nature. So that's the problem we are having about funding the police. The major problem the police has is funding.
All right, Mr. Azubuko Uda, thank you. I'm sure that everyone here, apart from Mr. Bala Ibrahim, of course, are retired, police officers. But let me just, before I come to Mr. Alobi here, let me hear your perspective, Mr. Ajao in Lagos. You're also a retired Deputy Inspector General of Police. Back in time when you served, what was the nature of the responsibilities of the police, and would you say those responsibilities have become overwhelming today?
Very much. The responsibilities over the years have not changed. They are there in the Constitution for anybody to see. And of course, even if you see the preamble to the Nigerian Constitution 1999, as amended, it says that the primary purpose of government shall be the promotion of the welfare and security of the citizens. To me, that underscores, that emphasizes the importance that security plays in the life of every nation, and not to talk of Nigeria. We have that onerous responsibility of maintaining internal security. It's the lead agency in the promotion of internal security. And of course, the expectation is very high, but the motivation is, so to speak, below sea level. What do you say of, if you look at Section 4 of the Police Act, Laws of the Federation 1990, I just give a cursory look at it. Prevention and detection of crime, preservation of law and order, maintenance of law and order, apprehension of offenders, due enforcement of all laws and regulations with which the police is directly charged, and again, the performance of such military duties within and outside Nigeria as may be required by under the authority of that act. I mean, nothing can be more significant than that. But then when you look at the level of empowerment to perform these onerous responsibilities, it is a pity. It is a pity. I mean, I just want to be modest in my language. While we were in service, I was in charge of the operations department. And of course, that's the heartbeat of the force. There on daily basis, on 24-hour basis, you see Nigeria at a glance. You see problems in all the 774 local governments, all the states of the federation. Commissioners of police will make demands. Assistant inspectors general of police will make demands. All these require movement of personnel. All these require movement of vehicles. All these require movement of armament. And they are not just there. And if they are there, they are grossly insufficient to cope with the task of police in this country. I know that funding is the bane. It's not a major problem, but funding has been a contentious issue in the force. Right from, I cannot remember what time, it has always been very serious. We used to appear before the various House of Assembly, House of Representatives, Committee on Police Affairs, Senate Committee with the Inspector General of Police. We prefer solutions, we argue cases, but at the end of the day, it boils down to something. Budgetary allocation is not sufficient. If for instance, in 2016, from my records, from what I'm told, the police requested for 331 billion naira for capital projects, 16 billion naira was approved, and at the end of the year, 4 billion naira had been cash backed. I mean, you can see the shortfall. What do you do with 4 billion when you requested for 331 billion in the force of the magnitude of the police? The police is the most visible federal government agency in this country. It has 37 commands, all the states of the federation plus FCT. It has 128 area commands headed by assistant commissioners of police, has about 1,380 divisions headed by DPOs, has over 1,765, thereabout, many other police stations, over 3,000 police posts spread across the nook and cranny of this country. How do you cope with that funding? I know there are competing interests. I know that our country is going through a difficult period, I must say. I must admit that. But in the midst of competing interests, you just have to prioritize. On the basis of need, we have to take care of the need of the police, because that is the fundamental issue. If you talk of growing the economy without talking of security, you are scratching the problem on the surface. Talk of any sector of our economy. Is it in the agricultural sector? Is it in the mining sector? Is it in tourism that we have not even tapped? Is it in the oil and gas sector? You need security to survive. Not to talk of at the personal level, in our neighborhoods, in our communities. A private entrepreneur will not feel safe in a place that is not secure. No foreign investor will be encouraged to come into the country where there's problem of insecurity. So we just have to prioritize the need of the police based on competing interests. I concede that the federal government has a lot of responsibilities. It must take care of so many babies. But here is a baby that is crying for help. And that there is a baby that is so crucial to the survival of this country in terms of security. Thank you.
All right, retired DIG Israel Ajao, thank you very much there for your comments. Again, we'll come back to you in the course of the conversation. To return to our Abuja studios, earlier we introduced a retired commissioner of police. He was in charge of the FCT, Mr. Lawrence Alobi. Mr. Alobi, now the challenge that the police faces has been elaborately described by the two retired DIGs. You were in charge of the FCT. I'm sure you also held other operational commands in the course of your service. How does this play out, for instance, in terms of the efficiency of the police?
Of course, like my DIG, the two of them have expressed actually clearly the inadequacies. And in terms of operational effectiveness, you cannot ask somebody to do omelette without an egg. You want like Section 14B, which the DIG quoted, says the prime purpose of government is securing the well-being of the citizens. That is number one obligation of the government. And the government, the president, the governors, the vice, they all took an oath. They took an oath of office that they will uphold and defend the Constitution. If that is the case, I don't know why most government of this country have been starving the police of funds, adequate funding. You want effective policing. If you fail to fund the police, you are disturbing the status of this country of good security. Because there's a nexus between funding and security. Like my dear did say, security permeates all aspects of our life. Whether individual basis level, national level, regional level, all. No investor can come here and invest when they know the place is insecure. Why the vice president, the acting president, now going to Niger Delta to see how to bring up, sure that he can promote peace and security. That's Section 14B is critical and key. And the police is the tablet of internal security. Internal security is key. How many external wars have we fought in the history of our political life? Internal security is every day. Police fighting the war of crime every day. Even terrorism. Like it is one of the Section 4 of the Police Act, the policemen are also involved in military operations in and outside the shores of this country. And if that is the case, I think I will say without equivocation, the Nigerians and the government of this country, the governments of this country are not prepared to fund the police. They don't want to have good, effective security in this country. Because if they want to, like the AG just said, privatize security, privatize their needs. Budgeting is based on needs. When the police give their budget proposal, it goes to National Assembly, maybe they talk it here and there. It goes to the Minister of Finance. If they say they approve maybe 150 billion, they just release 4 billion. What is that? What is that? It's a disservice to the people of this country that the police is being starved of funding, effective funding. It's a disservice. And since it's a disservice, it is also unpatriotic for those who will say, okay, they now begin to decide what to release and not what to release. Not knowing that these things are based on needs. Budgeting is based on needs. How many vehicles you have? A police post, a police division, a police command, a police zonal command. Of course, the entire country. Police duties cut across all aspects of our life. Because during an election, for instance, a policeman is working 24/7. They are working 24/7. Sometimes I hear some people saying that police don't maintain their vehicles. Other services, after 7 o'clock, 7 p.m., they're no longer in the streets. The police are there on the street 24/7. Because this poor funding, you call a policeman, there is a distress call, a police station is being called, the policeman cannot move because he cannot provide the funds for the filling of the vehicle. The vehicle is bad. Rather than the society appreciating, empathizing with the police, they will blame the police, blaming the victim of an effective system. The system is defective. The government and people of this country are not prepared to actually police this country effectively. Because they are prepared to police this country, they will ensure the principal agency, tap root. Other agencies are just the supportive roots of this security architecture. And when the tap root is being starved, of course the tree will collapse. The house will collapse. And I'm afraid the police, they are the most loyal agency in terms of loyalty and commitment in this country. I said unequivocally. How many times the police going on strike? Other agencies, other organizations, when they are not being funded, they go on strike, they go to the street. They were there loyal, committed. We are alienated from our family. The government don't even support us. Citizens don't like us because of misconception and neo-colonial mentality. The police don't see us as friends, and yet we are there to protect them in life. Two things are critical in life of a human being: life and property. And this is the institution that is meant to protect under the law. And then they are being tossed around and being treated as beggars in the state. Governors want commissioners to go and begin to kneel and beg down for funds to police the state, to make it governable for you. It's unfortunate, it's pathetic, it's unfortunate. I think the government and people of this country should rise up to their responsibility as citizens of this country. in line with the Constitution. Section 24E of the Constitution also provides that it's a duty of every Nigerian citizen to assist the security agencies in terms of law and order. If you call someone to assist you, they see you, they want you to come and beg. Begging you to do your job, begging you to provide for your country. Minister of what is the moral ground they have to begin to slash and release what they like? You know what you wear the shoe, you know what it is pinching. It is either because of corruption or either ignorance of what the manager of the job the police is doing. They will cut it, just release what they like. Please, I want Nigerians to empathize with the Nigerian police force. I want the government of this country, or whatever this government, or that subsequent government that will come on board, to know that they have a primary duty and provide that section 14B of the Constitution. And again, I want to say there's a lacuna. Section 2.1 of the Constitution provides that the people and the government of Nigeria will equip and maintain the armed forces to ensure that it is effective in protecting our international and territorial integrity. But the police have no such constitutional provision. We go up cap in hand begging. So I want to appeal to the National Assembly. Now that they are not trying to amend the Constitution, it should be clearly stated in the Constitution that the people and government of this country must fund and equip Nigerian police force to make it effective for effective policing of this country.
All right, sir. Thank you, Mr. Adobe. Let's hear Mr. Bala Ibrahim now. Mr. Bala, when we measure the effectiveness and efficiency of the Nigerian police, of course, with the size of the budget, one wonders, these are the same crop of policemen, when you deploy them out for peace mission, they perform wonderfully. So where is the lacuna here?
Well, thank you very much. If we look at the picture painted by these retired officers who have been in the police force for long and who have seen everything, and probably they have served outside Nigeria, we all know it's an open secret that Nigerian police, when they go abroad, it's ovation everywhere. They come back with records of uploads. Everyone says they perform well. Why are they performing well? They are performing well, or they perform well because they are well funded, they are well trained, they are well prepared to fight the challenges or to face the challenges they are sent there to. But the reverse is the case in Nigeria. One feels as if the Nigerian police force is prepared to fail in Nigeria. One feels as if the system is promoting corruption and encouraging failure. I cannot see how you will provide a police that is expected to efficiently and effectively police the society with pittance. How can you expect a police, from what the DIG painted, to get 25% of what was appropriated? Not just appropriated, but even less than that is cash backed. Now, a society that has got no police, that society is doomed to fail. The security of a country, the success of a country is dependent on the security of that country. If the security of that country is not taken with seriousness, there is no way people will feel safe to invest or to transact businesses. I feel the Nigerian police, the problem is not actually with the police. The problem is with the system. The system is not prepared to be policed properly. If the country is ready to be policed, the police must be given what it takes. They must be given the funds they need. They must be given the training they need. And they must be supported well in order for them to do what is right. We've seen it. Nigeria has sent police to Liberia. Nigeria has sent police to Gambia. Nigeria has sent police to other countries where there is unrest. These police have performed so well and they came back with commendation. But in Nigeria, the reverse is the case. The challenges are enormous, they are increasing, they are not decreasing. But every year in, year out, the fund is always decreasing. And we are expecting them to perform results. How can they do this? Unless and until we change this thinking and we change the pattern of funding, there is no way the police can effectively police. In fact, the reverse is what is going to happen. After giving them the training, after exposing them to all the techniques of crime, you refuse to fund them. If they leave the police, they may turn out to be the criminals. Now, unless we want to groom and be producing criminals instead of people who will fight crime, we must change our attitude. We must change the system of funding. We must be giving them what it takes to do the job, if we want the job to be done properly.
All right, Malam Bala Ibrahim, thank you very much there for your comments. Let's return to retired DIG Azubuko, who was in charge of finance and admin. from what has been said, and indeed from what is also in the public domain, there is a history of insufficient funding or inadequate funding of the Nigeria police. Now you are, of course, no longer in service. What is the story behind this history? Why is the police not getting an appreciable percentage of its appropriation? Why would the police get 25%? And yet when we are talking about budgetary implementation, we are hearing anything, sometimes extravagant figures of 70% or 50%. Why is the police, from your viewpoint, being singled out for this shortchange?
Well, the reasons that may be given is that the federal government, in doing the budget, they have a lot of organizations, institutions, ministries, parastatals, and commissions to cater for. And I think that's one of the reasons why, by the time I became the DIG in charge of finance and administration, I found out that despite the fact that we have gone in to do our budget, call in all the divisions to bring in their inputs, do everything, by the time you get these figures to go and meet the Minister of Finance, you end up, they will just give you an envelope and say, look, this is the ceiling of what can be given, despite all what you have brought as budget estimates that is supposed to help the police run for that year. So that's where the problem actually starts. And it doesn't end there. Despite the fact that you have given an envelope and then the whole thing is cut down that way, just like my colleague said before, 16 point something billion was what was now given, was what we are talking about the envelope. The envelope was 16 point something, while the capital expenditure was given at over 300 billion that will help to sustain the police. And at the end of the day, you have another problem of cash backing. You have appropriated 16 point something billion out of the estimate of 300 and something. And this time around, you are releasing out of the 16 point something billion, you are releasing only 4 billion. So that's where this has been going on, and I have the statistics of what has been happening to the police from the year 2012. If I can be...
I was just wondering, retired DIG, that is the story behind the history of the stats that we're about to read out, or that you say you want to read out. Why? Do sister agencies suffer the same thing?
Yes, I think, yes, that's what they give envelopes to every government agency and parastatal. They give to all of them.
Yeah, the capital releases are also as paltry as you have indicated.
Well,
from your intelligence, I mean, that's
well, I think you see, what I want to say here is that maybe the people that are determining the amount of appropriation that goes to the police, they don't really know the problem the police is facing, and that's why we are having this problem. It has become so perennial, and like I said, it's like a miracle the way the police is even operating. And
sorry, Mr. Uda.
Yeah.
You were in charge of finance, and I know you also have the statistics,
okay.
And they say, an interesting one was, of course, given by the immediate past IG, when he was also speaking to the issue of, inadequate funding of the police. And I'd like to quote him. He said, look, the Nigerian police force is so broke, it can barely afford stationery for formations across the country. And he gave a breakdown. In 2013, for instance, he said recurrent proposal was 56 billion. Receipt was just 7 billion. In 2014, you had about a 45 billion naira proposal, and you had 16 billion. In 2015, it was worse. 71 billion, 5 billion, received. And Kingsley is asking, why is this happening? You must have a history. What are the sister agencies? Are they also having the same, challenges?
Well, the challenges of the police is very, very peculiar because of the size of the police. You cannot compare the police, for example, with we have, as of today, we have over 300,000 personnel to cater for. As of today, we have so many police stations, about over 3,000 police stations. And so the problem is that when the police bring their budget, it looks so huge when you compare them with some other agencies. And the problem is, and another problem is that no cognizance is taken about the size of the police. Let me give an example. If you talk about the police and you bring another agency, maybe maybe a ministry, for example, what the responsibilities of the police is so overwhelming that you cannot compare it with the responsibility of the ministry.
All right. Well, retired DIG Uda, let's also get the views of retired DIG Israel Ajao at our Lagos Network studios. Well, how would you respond to the view that, fine, the shortfall in the funding of the police we are discussing now arises obviously because of what happens at the federal level. Now, we have also seen instances where state governments and corporate organizations supplement the operations of the police in their areas of jurisdiction, usually by providing logistics and some other things. Now, are those kinds of support adequate for the police, or the police will want to rely solely on federal funding?
Very much. I'm particularly lucky to have a benefit of hindsight as a retired officer, and to also have benefit of my present experience as a member of the Lagos State Security Trust Fund, a fund that I consider as a model for all governments of the Federation, all state governments, to emulate. But for that, perhaps this commercial capital, commercial state of Nigeria would have been in turmoil. I say without any fear of contradiction that prior to 2007, when I was an Assistant Inspector General of Police in Zone 2 in Lagos, we had it very rough with men of the underworld. Armed robberies, bank robberies, attack inside supermarkets, shopping malls, while in traffic, miscreants, area boys everywhere. And the government, the Lagos State government, thought it wise to find out what was responsible for this upsurge and what could be the solution. I mean, you will not be surprised to hear that it is not unconnected with what we have been discussing, all of us, today. Funding, inadequate manpower, lack of logistic support, lack of training and retraining, lack of professionalism. And the outcome of that research by the Lagos State government led to the establishment of the Lagos State Security Trust Fund, a fund which I want to say again is a model. As an insider, I can comfortably tell you, Nigerians, that Lagos State government is taking giant strides in the area of supporting the Nigeria police and all other security agencies in Lagos. If I may remember, in the last 10 years, the fund is going to be 10 years old, yeah? It's a public-private partnership. It has no subvention from the state government. It relies solely on goodwill of public and private citizens, corporate citizens, and they have been doing well. Of course, you realize, as I said earlier, that your businesses can only thrive in an atmosphere of peace. I mean, no investor, no banker would like to work in the place where robbers will come and cut away all the money in the bank. So we have corporate organizations have been donating handsomely, generously, because of the opportunities provided by the Lagos State government, and particularly the present administration in Lagos State of His Excellency Governor Akinwumi Ambode has made security the cornerstone of his administration. He has said it everywhere. I know as a retired officer, a member of the front, that is passionately committed to ensuring safety of everybody in Lagos, or whether you live in the urban area, whether you live in the rural areas. The Lagos State Trust Fund has supplied not less than 1,150 vehicles to the Rapid Response Squad. That is the operational outfit of the Lagos State Command. Over 1,170 vehicles, several motorcycles, 45 armored personnel carriers, 3 helicopters for area patrol and surveillance. Can you imagine that? And continuously supplying kits, supplying riot control equipment, supplying all sorts of equipment to support the police, support the military in their joint operation with the police, support other security services, the prisons, the immigration, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. Everybody enjoys the benefit of the Lagos State Security Trust Fund. Therefore, if that is a success story, why can't we replicate it in other states? I know that other states may have challenges. Lagos State also has its own challenges. But to me, it's a question of priority. It's a question of priority. Survival, security of life and property takes preeminence over every other need of any society. Else, we return to the state of nature. We return to the state of nature, God forbid, where everybody will be to himself, and all of us will be looking up to God. I can tell you comfortably that today in Lagos, bank robbery is a thing of the past. You cannot hear of armed robbers breaking into banks in Lagos because the number of patrol cars that will be marshaled to go to that bank will be so overwhelming that the robbers will have nowhere to escape. We have excellent communication system. The Lagos State Security Trust Fund has a command and control center, which is an integrated communication center, reaches out to almost everybody on the field. When there is distress, the men are there, they move out. You see, what we are saying is this: if you need an efficient and effective police force, you must provide the opportunity, the logistic support, and the capacity building. Somebody mentioned question of foreign service. When I was at the National Institute as a participant, I was given a task of making a critical appraisal of the performance of the Nigeria police in foreign missions vis-a-vis their role in Nigeria. And my findings were mind-boggling. You can't believe that when we got to the United Nations, a Nigerian police sergeant, Mohammed, his full portrait is in the Hall of Fame at the United, up to tomorrow, being honored by the former U.S. Secretary General, Butrus Ghali. That's a Nigerian police sergeant, Mohammed. Bring that Sergeant Mohammed back to Nigeria, he becomes a product of his environment. No equipment, no facilities, no welfare, no barracks. He becomes disgruntled, he becomes mentally disoriented, and he cannot concentrate on that arduous, challenging task of policing. So I believe that, well, the federal government has challenges. All of us know it, we cannot deny it. But let us look into the areas of alternative supports to the police. Trust fund. Even if you cannot do it at the level Governor Akin Nwambode is doing it in Lagos, you can do it at a lower level. It's better than doing nothing. And I believe that if all hands are on deck in this direction, the funding of the police and the preparedness of the police to face challenges will be better off.
Thank you, Mr. Ajao. And indeed, I do remember that the former IG, that's Mr. Solomon Arasi, did call for the resuscitation and passage of a bill. I don't know what has happened to that bill. That's the Police Trust Fund bill. I don't know if it's still pending at the National Assembly. You want to speak to that? Okay, okay, Mr. Lobis. Yeah.
Incidentally, I was in charge of I was CP Fellow Operation for 5 years. And I normally go with my IG to defend the budget at the National Assembly. This issue of Police Trust Fund was mooted by Mr. Balogun. We even had cheating at National Assembly. We went to Port Harcourt for public hearing. Senator Aru was heading that committee. We were all frustrated. Like it's happening in Lagos State, if this policy had been implemented as proposed by Mr. Balogun, I think this, you see, security is like democracy. It's participatory in nature. The people themselves need to get involved. Because people are the prime beneficiaries of a safe and secure environment. So they also need to participate in ensuring that the environment is safe and secure for their own benefit. But now that idea, that wonderful idea was killed, the National Assembly, because we couldn't grease their palms or so, I don't know what happened.
What exactly is the bill seeking?
The bill is seeking that there's going to be a trust fund where all investors, all corporate organizations will contribute a percentage of their profit to that fund. Policing is capital intensive. So like my DIG said, it's an alternative funding. And to help the government, at least the government have a lot of competing needs actually, needs to meet. But then, since everyone needs security, not everybody will go to hospital 24/7, but you must need police security 24/7. So that is, everybody needs to contribute. Those corporate organizations, investors need to contribute a percentage of their profit to that fund. And that will not help to ameliorate the problem of funding the police, leaving a budget burden only to the government alone. So I think, like I said, security is participatory in nature. The people themselves need to participate. Corporate organizations, investors, Nigerians themselves. You see, let me tell you, when the bomb blast in Boston, that happened in Boston, the CCTV that was used in detecting those two suspects was not the one that was installed by government. It was installed in a private restaurant. And they used that in the footage in detecting those suspects. Even the one that happened in London, it was in a train station that those two suspects were captured to CCTV. So security is technology driven and technology is capital intensive. And with that, now that we are being starved of adequate funding based on our needs, not giving anything extra, based on our need for us to do our job effectively and efficiently for the benefit of Nigerians. All right,
Mr. Alobi, thanks a lot. Mr. Bala Ibrahim, what's your response to the proposal by retired DIG Israel Ajao to the effect that, look, other states could seek to emulate the Lagos Trust Fund example? So if at the federal level this trust fund is not materializing, could other viable states, or states with a great deal of commercial activities not seek to borrow a leaf from what Lagos is doing rather than having this episodic donation of 2 or 3 Hilux trucks and then they won't let the world rest?
Thank you very much. Honestly, the picture painted by the retired DIG in Lagos clearly addressed the problem of the Nigeria police. And if you juxtapose the situation in Lagos with what obtains in the rest of Nigeria, you will clearly see that Nigeria is not ready to be properly policed. If Lagos, from what he is saying, has that capacity to provide logistics, to provide support, to provide communication gadgets, and to address the issue of armed robbery, bank robbery, what have you, which he said is now an issue of the past, I see no reason why we cannot replicate this in other states. For those of us who happen to be in the north, who were at the epicenter of the insurgency, and we've seen what the police went through, and we've seen how we came face to face with death. We've seen how insecurity virtually forced us to relocate to other places. No amount of encouragement will be too much to be given to the police. And if Lagos State can support the police the way it is doing now and record the kind of successes they are recording now, to say other states should not do it, I think it's a joke. If we can, quite all right, there is no state that is as rich as Lagos, probably except the south-south state. But within the limit of what we have, within the limited resources that we have in other states, we can make proportionate contribution to support the police, because the police seem to be facing a double jeopardy. It is not being supported by the government on the one side, it is not being supported by the public on the other side. That is slapping the child from both sides of the cheeks. If you want the system to be effective and efficient, we have to work out a way of getting the resources to support the police properly and let them carry out their duties. We can say in other countries where probably we don't have as much challenges as we have in Nigeria, they are recording successes because the society is cooperating. In Nigeria, we are having a police force of about 300,000. Now, you want this police force to police a population of about 200 million. I would call that criminal. How can you, the ratio is by far below what the United Nations is saying. Now, how do you expect efficiency in such a system? Not only that, you send the police to go and quell a civil unrest. You send him with a vehicle that is not fuel. You expose him to a crowd that is armed and he is not armed. You send him to a place where After he has quelled the riot or he has addressed the issue, he will have to take to his feet. How do you get a result in such a situation? It's like sending someone to war with a stick when everybody there is having a gun. My advice is for the government and the system, the society in total, to sit down and address this issue. The police must be funded properly. If we are funding the army, we are funding the navy, we are funding the air force, I see no reason why we should not fund the police. And if you peruse through the hierarchy of risky jobs in the world, police falls within the 10 of such jobs. Now you send a person to such a risky assignment and you don't fund him. I think you are actually sending that person to die. And that should be against our conscience. It should be against the principles of good governance.
Thank you. Gentlemen, we'll come back to you. We'll come back to you. We've got quite a number of tweets. We'll quickly take the tweets and then we'll return to your contributions.
All right. Festus Akinyeboyawa has this tweet, said, government will never be able to fund the police properly. We should also encourage private funding of the police.
And Franklin, a former tweet, if Nigeria police is what it should be, there will be no need for FRSC, NCDSC, and other duplicated institutions in this country.
And then we have this from Ibrahim Tudu. It says Nigeria police are most reckless managers of assets. A brand new Hilux vehicle shelf life in the hand of the police is only 6 months. I take that again. It said Nigeria police are the most reckless managers of assets. A brand new Hilux vehicle shelf life in the hand of the police is only 6 months.
And Ibrahim Tudu again, the police are trying, but like all other institutions, the force has been raped by corruption and bad leadership by past leaders.
And Festus Akimboyewa again, government should encourage well-meaning Nigerians to provide our police with technology and up-to-date equipment.
And Ibn Bature tweets, thought police have some though police have some bad side, but the fact of the matter is that only God can reward them in terms of sacrifice they make.
And then we have this from what the Twitter handle says is Cowboy. It says, no one seems to be talking about the police fund. Now, effective policing was achieved by Abubakar. What was the magic?
And we also have a number of tweets again. Ibrahim Tudu, if you compare the NPF, that's Nigeria Police Force, and of course the Civil Defense Corps, the difference is clear. Why does the public prefer the latter than the former? Trust issues.
All right. It says, Ojo Olaito has this tweet, let change begin with me, start with them by doing their official duties and stop collecting money from motorists.
And Sani Michael Omakoji, if not until we reform Nigeria Police, funding it would only make corruption more robust.
All right, this last one from Ibn Bature says, it's time the Nigeria police showed their will to fight for what's their right. That's proper funding, or else the police will get money only from citizens.
All right, gentlemen, let's again, get your views. But Mr. Lubi, I know you want to react to the last, question, but take along with you, the leadership of the Nigeria police right now has even more challenging, need for funding. You look at the number of police stations that have been destroyed in insurgency. You look at the number of policemen that have been lost in the fight against insurgency. These are issues that need to be addressed.
Yes, see this poor funding permeates all aspects of.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm told we must take a short break now. When we come back, you'll respond. All right, let's go for the break.
Love is in the air, and your rib-cracking comedy series, Professor John Bull, examines the follies, the foibles, and the realities of Valentine's Day.
My baby Flash will fly like a dash of awesome cash. My heart is loving you today, no clash.
I'm here to take my baby out for a bash, man. It's Valentine. We're going to wine and dine, man.
What is love to Carol?
If you give Carol this thing, he will insult you. You know nothing about love.
You must not shop some things to buy there.
What is love to Professor John Bull?
Love is like a fire. Handle it well. It can light up your life. Handle it carelessly. it can burn you to death.
Find out how love swings in Be My Vow episode of Professor John Bull.
The love I get for you, even me self the fear. Samu, as you are strong, you don't love girl like that.
Professor John Bull, laugh like never before.
Over and out.
Brought to you by Glow.
Welcome to the new speed of life.
Okay, sir. You may now go in for your interview.
Thank you.
Ah, my shoe. And to think I just bought this very expensive foreign shoe 2 months ago.
So sorry about your shoes. This is why I advise my friends to always patronize made in Nigeria products. See this shoe. It's made in Nigeria and I've had it for 2 years and it's still as good as the day I bought it.
Made in Nigeria products are good quality, and stringent government regulations and certification now mean the goods made in Nigeria meet international standards. Make the patriotic choice today. Buy right. Buy Made in Nigeria.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
All right, you're welcome back. But if you just joined us, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria. We are reaching you live on Africa's largest television network, that's the Nigerian Television Authority. We still have our guests with us here in the Abuja studios as well as at our Lagos Network Center. And just before we went on that break, retired Commissioner of Police, Mr. Lawrence Alobi, wanted to react to some of the points touched on already with regard to having a proper model or an efficient and workable model for funding the police, including that suggested by DIG retired Israel Ajao in Lagos, who indicates that the Lagos Trust Fund model could be adopted by others. Mr. Alobi, what's your take?
Thank you very much. You see, Nigerians and the government of this country need to be conscious of one fact, that the police is the principal law enforcement agency of this country in charge of internal security. Internal security is the nucleus of security of this country. And if you starve the police, that is principal agency, means you are doing a disservice to the people. It impacts negatively on the security of the people. For instance, look, let me tell you how it impacts negatively on the police performance. A policeman the case is being reported at the police station, and even the policeman has no even statement papers to wait to record the person's statement. There's a distress call. The policeman cannot move the vehicle because there's no fuel. And sometimes some governors say they've given vehicles to the police. What about maintaining the vehicles? And what are the ratio of those vehicles as compared to the number of divisions and police stations that need them? See, the point is that the government need to sit up. The government, I know this problem of this underfunding the police started doing the military. I have to say, we have let us call a spade a spade. The military saw the police as being a third force that we used to check coup. So most of some of our equipment were even taken from us. Equipment that were meant for us to fight crime were taken from us. We were incapacitated, and so that mentality, that negative, that malice has been there. You will not run down the police because if you don't run them down, they will shine. So it has been so, and even the public, they make the police look like the police are ineffective. I've one cautioned that over-militarizing our law enforcement and policing of the country has a negative impact on the citizens and, of course, on the society. Why should the police section of 217 discusses or stipulates when the military can be deployed to come in aid of civil society?
Okay.
But then, now today, military men are involved in stop and search, policing, these basic functions of law enforcement, which is principally the front function of the police, and sometimes there's a clash of interest. So I think the government should come out sincerely. The government should be sincere in line with this government, with the other office, in line with the Constitution, that they would uphold the Constitution, which is security of the primary objective of any government. And if they want security of the country to be secured, the police need to be funded. The police need to be funded in all aspects, because without funding, you cannot do training. Sometimes you go channel television went and expose the nature of the police college in Ikeja was in rot. A police recruit is being fed with 17 naira a day. How that is slavish. So I think manpower training. Okay, look at now, cannot even recruit. We have problem of wastages. Policemen are being killed during operations. Policemen are being retired. Policemen die due to ailment. Policemen have been dismissed due to maybe disciplinary offenses. So, and yet this depletion is not being fulfilled. Lot of vacancies. So our strength is being reduced every day because one cannot train. Since when they recruited, some during our bursary they recruited. How many years have they recruited now? And every day we have wastages every day. So I think the government should be alive to responsibility, and Nigerians should have empathy with the police. And if Nigerians want effective policing, efficient policing, please, Nigerians, arise and say we want Nigerian police to be adequately funded so they can protect us.
Okay. Just before we come back to you here, let's quickly get the response of course, Mr. Israel Ajao in Lagos. Mr. Israel Ajao, of course, crime sophistication has placed higher demands on the leadership of the police today, you would say. What's your reaction to that? And again, apart from the model that you have suggested, the Lagos State model, are there other options, funding options that might be available for, funding the police?
Thank you very much. Sophistication in crime is a function of so many factors in the society. We are growing, we keep on growing economically, politically, socially, culturally, and all this come together to impact on crime and criminal activities. I quite commend the leadership of the police. In spite of all odds, the IGP and his team are doing their level best. We've been there. We know where the shoe pinches, so I do appreciate them. But I think a lot could still be done. A lot more could still be done on the part of everybody in this society. If you talk of the MD Yusuf Presidential Committee on Police Reform 2008, which DIG Azubuko referred to earlier on, it suggested funding of the police at the 3 tiers of government: local government, state government, and the federal government. Now we are talking of federal government. Federal government is faced with economic challenges. So many states are faced with economic challenges. But I'm saying that no matter what the challenges are, for God's sake, when you have competing interests, please prioritize on the basis of need. I mean, you can do away with certain things for some time, but you cannot do away with security for 1 second at all levels, whether as an individual, or as a government, as a corporate organization, as a private citizen. You need security 24 hours. And that underscores the importance of funding for the police. The other day we were rubbing minds on the way forward for the Lagos State Security Trust Fund, because sometimes you think of donation. There could be donor apathy. There could be donor complacency. Maybe people will think over the years, oh, we've been donating. But that has not been our experience in Lagos, because I know Nigerians. When they see the effect of what they are giving, they will keep on giving, especially in security. That has been the success story of the Lagos State Trust Fund. The corporate organizations are never tired, because once you move on any street in Lagos, you see patrol cars, RRS everywhere. Once you look into the sky, you see patrol helicopters. Once you dial 122 toll-free, you get a response from the command and control center. So why wouldn't you pay? So I'm still again appealing to all governments, all other state governments, no matter how small. Nothing is too small. If you imagine a situation when I was in service, a divisional police officer will have 39,000 naira to run his division in a quarter of 3 months. Is it to buy stationery? Is it to fuel his patrol cars? Yet he must go out, his men must go out to patrol. Yet the money for PMS is not there. The money for EGO is not there. Where do they get the money from? So before we ascribe blame to the police, we should do some critical self-appraisal. We are saying it because we have seen it. And that is the truth. That if a police division, DPO, does not have PMS to patrol his vehicle, and his men go out to patrol, they have the tendency of extorting. No police leadership is happy the way policemen extort publicly. And that is why I make bold to say that of all agencies of government, I have not seen any other one that has the type of self-cleansing mechanism that the Nigeria police has. We arrest ourselves, we parade ourselves, we prosecute ourselves. I mean, it does not mean that corruption is not going on in some other places. In the ministries, for instance, in hospitals. We have these things. But because our duty is such that we are continually under the critical eyes of the public, we cannot hide. We have no hiding place. And we are like Caesar's wife. you just must be above board. That is the way the public sees us. But we are saying that for us to be above board, we need that enabling environment to deliver good services to the good people of Nigeria. And whether it is at the local government level, at the state government level, at the level of corporate organizations, even at the level of individuals in communities, in neighborhoods, whatever you do for the police in that community, we are talking about community policing. What does it entail? It entails representativeness, participation, openness, accountability, and visibility. If you are a DPO and you embrace community policing, and your people in your neighborhood know that you are always there for them, they will do anything. Not only money, they give in cash and kite to help you to protect them. So I urge that we should not throw our hands up and surrender. No, because we have no choice but to police Nigeria. We must police this country. And the country must get the police force it deserves. But a lot needs to be done to attain that height.
All right, just before we let you go, retired DIG Israel Ajao, one point that I would like you to address. I mean, some persons might argue that even if you were to provide the police with the budgetary requests to the tune of, say, 100%, that there could be structural and managerial issues that also need to be addressed for the efficiency that we all speak about and we all desire to be attained. Are there administrative or managerial efficiencies and structural issues you find with the Lagos State Trust Fund, Security Trust Fund, that could be recommended for use elsewhere?
I know that it is easier for the police to manage its structure because the force itself primarily is regimented. I mean, you give directives, directives are carried out, good directives for that matter. There's no divisional police officer who will disobey his area commander. There's no area commander who will disobey his commissioner of police. There's no commissioner of police who will disobey his AIG. And it goes up like that. And there's no AIG who will say no to his IG. All we are saying is give us that environment. Whatever structural defect we have can easily be corrected. We are more amenable to correction and self-cleansing than most other agencies. As for the Lagos State Security Trust Fund, the structure in place is that it is driven by the private sector. The chairman is a private man. Most of the members are private people. I am retired. I'm there looking at it from the perspective of the police. We have an executive secretary who is also vast in community affairs. And of course, one other thing that the government of Lagos, I will not be tired of saying it, has introduced, the governor of Lagos State, is this concept of neighborhood safety. I just established a neighborhood safety agency to complement the efforts of the State Police Command. That is, recruiting able-bodied young men and women from their various local government areas and not also go further than their wards. Those who were born in their wards, who grew up in their wards, who know everything about the environment, are being recruited as core members into the Lagos State Neighborhood Safety Agency. And their primary assignment is to collaborate with the police at all levels to ensure that we have credible collation of intelligence, processing of intelligence, management, because without intelligence, you cannot police anything. So I will also recommend that for any state government that desires to have the structure that the Lagos State government is having with the trust fund.
Thank you very much. DIG Israel Ajao, member of Lagos State Security Trust Fund, joining us from our Lagos Network Center. I would like to appreciate you, sir.
Very much.
Abuja, of course, just to find a word from DIG Uja. DIG, in view of the urgent need for funds and the challenges of crimes, what would you prefer? What funding model would you prefer for the leadership of the police right now?
Thank you very much. There is no doubt that the present leadership of the police is hamstrung in terms of funds. We have been talking about funds. My colleague, the DIG Israel, he has talked about the Lagos model, the Lagos Trust Fund model. But I want to say something very, very important. The nitty-gritty aspect of the whole problem that the police is having. We have had you know, well-groomed police officers in the past who retired. I have talked about MD Yusuf panel, presidential committee, Dan Madami committee, and they made far-reaching recommendations, up to 120 recommendations about police reform. What we are talking about is police reform. If you want to power the police reform the way people are clamoring, you know, we are talking about corruption, we are talking about a lot of problems that the police is having. These things are embedded in all these 120 something recommendations that have been made. And let me say something about history.
We really don't have time for history. We just want it to go straight to.
Okay, I just want to. I want to appeal to the federal government of Nigeria. I want to appeal to the National Assembly. I want to appeal to all the state governments. I want to even appeal to the private sector people. Presently, we have a bill with the National Assembly on the Nigeria Police Reform Trust Fund. And this trust fund bill, when it is passed, is to last for a period of 6 years. It's like a Marshall Plan for which the Nigeria Police, a lot of all these 120-something recommendations would have been implemented.
That's the much we can take from you. But Bala Ibrahim, that's the point. I mean, we're talking about all of this. We cannot forget what happened in the past. There was an attempt to rally funds for the police through police equipment purchase fund that ran into some storm. Has the public overcome that trauma, as it were, to trust now to say, look, on a nationwide scale, they can actually pitch in with their donations to the police rather than, say, the Lagos example, which is localized?
Thank you very much. Honestly, the issue of contribution from the public, from everyone, cannot be overemphasized. Certainly, if we really are serious and we want to record the kind of success Lagos is recording, the need is there for everyone to contribute, including the criminals, because they also need security to enjoy the proceeds of their crime before they are apprehended. We certainly must provide the environment that is going to be conducive for business to thrive. And by this, we also have to look at the economics of what is happening. Even if the police is given the entire needs, 100% of what they requested, if we look at what inflation is doing to the system, we may not be able to achieve what we want the police to achieve. I don't know what the police has tagged or has paid their budget on, but if you see the rate at which the dollar is going up with respect to the naira, you certainly will not be able to buy the kits, the equipment you need at today's rate.
They will go to a bar for their boots.
Well, very good.
Made in Nigeria.
But honestly, if you look at what the police use, apart from fresh air and sunshine, everything is imported. Now, if all these things are imported and the dollar is always rising against the naira, today, if you look at what AGO, that is diesel, the rate, AGO is heading for 300 naira. I don't know at what rate they put in the budget.
But I want your final thoughts. We are rounding off.
No, definitely what we need to do is to collectively pay attention to contribution towards funding the police. And I repeat, everybody must contribute, including the criminals, because the criminals also need security to enjoy the proceeds of their crime before they get apprehended.
All right. Bala Ibrahim, a public analyst, joining us for this discussion on funding the Nigeria Police. We'd like to thank you, Bala, for your contribution.
Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, we thank you once again. And that ends our conversation for today on the police. Of course, we'd like to appreciate, I almost forgot, Mr. Lawrence Alubi, Mr. Alubi, retired Commissioner of Police in charge of the MCT. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me once again.
And of course, DIG Azubuko Uda, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, just to, there were some tweets that we couldn't, we've not been able to take, just a few of them. Johnny Fejika tweeting here, the government of Shehu Shagari was the only one that equipped the police with an IGP that knew his onions very well.
Okay, and this one is coming from Matthew Garba. Let government properly fund the police, and their welfare should be taken into seriousness, or taken seriously,
Seriously. All right. So well, that does it for our discussion segment. We move on now to sports. Action resumed last night in the Champions League. And that's we indicated where we're starting the program, Claire. You know, Barcelona got a taste of their own medicine.
You did.
Whitewashed 4-0. Let's join our sports desk now for a review of some of the matches.
Di Maria scored twice as Paris Saint-Germain stunned Barcelona to leave the Spanish side in danger of failing to reach the Champions League quarterfinals for the first time in a decade. PSG dominated this last 16 first leg tie throughout and took the lead through Di Maria's scored free kick.
Di Maria, yes! The birthday boy! The ex-Real Madrid player!
Julian Draxler added a second with an angle drive before Di Maria coiled an effort into the top corner.
Di Maria can hit them, as we know, with his left foot, just like that. He scores again.
Edinson Cavani then sealed a famous win with a powerful fourth.
Hit it, and does hit it. 4-0. They swept forward again, and they swept aside Barcelona again.
A lackluster Barcelona with Lionel Messi, Luis Suarez and Neymar, likely anonymous, did not produce an effort of note until 7 minutes before the end when Samuel Umtiti headed onto the post. The defeat leaves Luis Enrique's side with an almighty task to stay in the competition when they host PSG in the return leg on March 8. No side has managed to overturn a 4-goal first leg deficit in the history of the Champions League. Meanwhile, Costa Mitroglou gave Benfica a 1-goal advantage in the first leg of the Champions League last 16 tie with Borussia Dortmund. Mitroglou scrambled in the decisive goal for the Portuguese champions from Luso's header in the second half. Dortmund's Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang hit a penalty straight at keeper Henderson. And tonight's Arsenal will be in Germany to face former champions Bayern Munich, while defending champions Real Madrid will host Italian side Napoli.
And let's quickly take a look at developments on the foreign scene, particularly in Virginia, where a U.S. court has issued a preliminary injunction that President Trump's executive order barring the entry of persons from 7 Muslim countries is unconstitutional. Karipa Mohammed Natala has the story.
The ruling by Judge Lenin Birkima asserted that Trump's campaign vow to institute a Muslim ban is unconstitutional. It violated the First Amendment. In the ruling, she argued that the president's campaign statement, which he promised to create a Muslim ban if elected, as well as persecute Christians that may be permitted entry despite the ban, she said amounts to a religious test. Judge Lenin also criticized lawyers for the Justice Department did not present any evidence except the president's executive order. Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson says he is very pleased that the West African state is rejoining the Commonwealth. This is the first visit to the Gambia by a British Foreign Secretary. It was during Jammeh's administration he took the Gambia out of the Commonwealth in 2013. The new president, Adama Barrow, had promised a return to the 52-nation grouping. Mr. Johnson will proceed to Ghana for talks with President Nana Akufo-Addo.
All right, thank you very much there for the foreign bid package on Good Morning Nigeria. Let's move over now to Gufan Shaji for arts and entertainment, in particular the 59th Annual Grammy Awards.
And the Grammy goes to Black Star.
A roll call of the best music artists in the world. It is the